Hi there.
Hello there. I finally watched Knock at the Cabin. I've been wanting to see this because it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I'm always curious to see what he comes out with. I've been avoiding watching any other reviews of this until I saw it myself. I'm definitely more curious now to see others' opinions. I wasn't expecting to review this honestly, but after seeing it, I felt like I had some things to say. This movie's premise was taken from the novel by Paul Tremblay called Cabin at the End of the World. While vacationing, a girl and her parents are taken hostage by four armed strangers who tries to convince them that the world is on the verge of an apocalypse, and in order to stop this from happening, one of the three family members must be sacrificed. Willingly sacrificed. Pretty simple. I'll be spoiling this movie, so if you're interested in seeing this or reading the novel, go ahead and do that. Now, I haven't read the novel, but from what I've seen, there are some differences in some of the events and how it ends, but I won't go into all of that since I haven't read it. I will just be discussing the movie. So I kind of forced my husband to watch this with me, and overall, it was just boring. And I was kind of looking forward to it too. So, such a disappointment. There isn't much to discuss when it comes to the happenings of this movie. It kept following the same pattern over and over again with seemingly no progression. I mean, the progress was just getting to the end of the movie, just seeing who's gonna check out next and wait. It went something like this. Are you willing to make a sacrifice? No? Okay, well, we'll give you some time to think about it, but don't take too long. You know, apocalypse and whatnot. Okay, so now are you willing to make a sacrifice? Please? No? Okay, well, bye. In between these moments, we get flashbacks of the family and seeing them trying to escape and failing almost every time. And that's it. That's Knock at the Cabin. I'm sure some people say, oh, that's disingenuous. That's not all that happened to the movie. And yeah, of course, there's things here and there going on, but while watching it, that's how I felt. I was waiting for something more to happen, and it just kept getting repetitive. A lot of close up shots. The angles here were just so obnoxious. I was expecting the shot to just flip all the way over. And I think I've seen enough of Dave Bautista's lips, thank you. Why the mouth close ups? Does it make it more dramatic? There are movies with simple premises that can still hook you and keep you interested, but there was no elevation here. Greater stakes? Yeah, but these disasters felt detached for me because, I don't know, maybe we were just watching it on screen, and for me, I was questioning the validity of all of this. I had no reason to outright believe all of this initially. Andrew was rightfully skeptical of this as well. I was also thinking to myself, maybe this could all be a prank or an experiment. These broadcastings could be recorded. They could be in on it to convince this family and to see what they would do. And if that was the case, what is the purpose? That's what I was waiting for. Now, I just wanted to talk about a comparison that I was thinking about while watching this movie. 10 Cloverfield Lane. This movie succeeded where I felt Knock at the Cabin failed. There's supposed to be some kind of mystery or doubt regarding what the four intruders are telling the family, right? Or was I just thinking too much about it? So, 10 Cloverfield Lane, throughout this movie, we, the audience, didn't know if John Goodman was telling the truth about the outside world or he was just a psycho. The tension and the suspense kept elevating, making the movie more interesting. Even if you believed John Goodman, or the characters we were following believed him, they were always trying to piece together a puzzle and figure out how to deal with it. There was constant suspense, keeping you engaged. You go throughout the movie learning more about John Goodman's character through Mary Winstead and her suspicion. We are also put in the shoes of these characters, forced into this scenario, but it was all very anticlimactic. Another movie I thought about while watching Knock at the Cabin was Cabin in the Woods. So there's slight spoilers for Cabin in the Woods, by the way. A similar scenario. A group of people vacationing in a cabin, and unbeknownst to them, they need to be sacrificed in order to save humanity. Now, I understand it's probably not a very fair comparison since Cabin in the Woods had more action, horror, and comedy. It's a bigger concept than just some teens trying to survive the night. But still, this movie reminded me of Cabin in the Woods. You know, a group of people in a cabin whose deaths are a sacrifice for the greater good. As I said, similar-ish. I couldn't be the only one that thought of it. Now, I definitely think that 10 Cloverfield Lane is a better comparison when it comes to Knock at the Cabin, but I just wanted to mention it. Spoilers here. They do end up saving the world eventually, once they are convinced there is indeed an apocalypse occurring, and only after mass destruction and all four intruders take their own lives. I mean, compare this ending with Cabin in the Woods ending, where it felt a little more of a gut punch. Even though we saw the behind the scenes of what was happening, the main character still only had a few minutes or so to decide the fate of humanity. That decision wasn't drawn out throughout the film because they, the main characters, didn't even know the stakes. In 10 Cloverfield Lane, where you were always on edge if the outside world was really taken over or not, there were clues and misdirects along the way, and it kept you interested. Whereas here, we see the death and chaos via the television, whether you believe it or not while it's happening. Maybe it was just me, or also it being an M. Night Shyamalan film. I expected that, okay, if it is real and this is happening, there must be more to it. Again, no mystery, no suspense. There was nothing to make you doubt your conclusions or predictions about what was happening. Just something that would make you think. What part of this movie made you doubt your initial thoughts? So let me just say some pros of the film. I thought it looked good. The music wasn't bad. M. Night seems to always have decent music, in my opinion. Some people may not have liked The Village, but the music was amazing in it. The acting, Dave Bautista was good. The fathers played their part very well. Despite my criticism, it was a very emotional movie. I get the fight the family had. I appreciate the flashbacks of the couple's history. It showed the difficulties they went through together and that they are fighters, especially Andrew. To me, it definitely showed why Andrew refused to give in. He fought for what he has now, and nothing was going to convince him to give it up. M. Night's other work can have some questionable acting, but I can't tell if it's more of his writing or the direction he gives. Child actors are always rough to judge. Honestly, most of the time they suck. But the girl that played Wen was fine. This was her first film apparently, so I'd say she did pretty good. When she was trying to convince her dads that a scary man was outside, it was not convincing at all. Very forced. But that was really the only time I could think of that the acting was pretty bad. With that all said, I'll start this off with just a few questions I had that I can remember. I was only able to see this movie once, so forgive me if I've missed anything. It's very likely I could have. And these questions, by the way, don't add to my criticisms. They're just things that I was curious about. These ideas were put in the movie and then it wasn't ever explained. Why exactly was this family chosen? Why a family? Is it because they represent something? I'm assuming so, but it clearly didn't stick with me, if in fact it was answered. What was the significance of the Redmond reveal? I mean, what were the chances that this was the same guy that attacked the fathers? Did Redmond remember them? I may have missed something here, because I think Andrew mentioned that this guy must have stalked them and followed them here to harm them, but I don't remember that ever coming back. Because again, was it all a coincidence that they found this family to sacrifice and they have a connection to Redmond? Or did Redmond make it a point to purposely choose them? The incident happened several years ago, so for me that wouldn't make much sense. It seems like more trouble to follow them years later rather than find another family. Plus, Redmond never appeared to acknowledge the past attack. At his end, he was scared, but not remorseful. I think he would have at least said something about what he did to them before dying. Something like, "I'm sorry," or even a "I hate you guys." Something. That seems to be the only big mystery in this movie. Was he the attacker? We find out. Yes, he was. Okay, moving on. As I predicted from the start of watching Knock at the Cabin, these four intruders represent the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Redmond malice, Adrian nurturing, Sabrina healing, Leonard guidance. They're the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
So cool. In all honesty, I don't know a lot. Oh great, it's thundering. In all honesty, I don't know a lot or anything really about this reference. I know the name, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but didn't know anything more than that. But I assumed that's what they were. Even in my skepticism, I thought it was just supposed to be an interesting parallel or a reference. I wasn't sure if they literally were that. And upon looking up the Four Horsemen, I haven't seen a reference to each of them in this way that the movie says. When trying to get more info, I always saw these words for them versus the movie's wording. Just thought it was interesting. Maybe it was the same wording in the books to describe them? I wasn't sure, but let me know if you've read the book. Love 'em or hate 'em, M. Night Shyamalan movies are a draw. They definitely get my attention. Every time a movie of his is out, I want to see it. I have more of a curiosity to see what's next from him. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. He's got me hooked, as I'm sure that's what most people feel about him. I don't expect another Sixth Sense or Unbreakable, but that would be amazing. Maybe I naively hope for that. I feel most people watching his films want to know how it will end versus caring about what happens in between, which is unfortunate. I'm a bit guilty of this myself. What's the new story he will tell, and how will it end? M. Night seems to make money, too. I'll be honest, I know nothing about box office numbers and all that, but his last several movies, from what I saw, seem to have made money. He knows it, and the studios know it. I mean, Glass was highly anticipated. I know for myself, I was very excited for it, but yeah, I don't want to talk about that. What happened, M. Night? He is the most confusing yet predictable director, and I keep coming back to see what he does. My personal problem with M. Night Shyamalan movies is the execution. His plot and premises, whether taken from an already established story or not, are always interesting to me. But the issue is the execution and how it's shown. I get hooked in by the premise, but by the end, I'm just left with a, oh, yeah, okay. I figured that's what would happen. His movies are either predictable, like The Visit. I mean, I knew within minutes the ending of the movie. Don't even get me started on the acting in that one. The Devil was also very predictable. Or I feel meh by the end, like The Happening or Old. I mean, at least Old had a mystery. I appreciate the passion put in this project. I watched an interview with some of those involved, and I see it, you know. M. Night really wanted to put this out there. I'm not denying the effort put into this or anything, but the end result for me was that it just seemed very boring. Not much happened. What are your thoughts on M. Night Shyamalan movies? Did you see Knock at the Cabin? Let me know down below. Now after I made this video, I guess I'm gonna go watch some other people's reviews to see if, you know, maybe they had the same criticisms or problems with it, or maybe they loved it and I'm just really missing something, because it's very possible after you see a movie, you kind of go back to it and you're like, huh, okay, I didn't see that, or this made me think of, like, seeing someone explain a movie could make you think of it differently or appreciate it or maybe even hate it. I mean, that's happened to me before. So let me know what you think. Hopefully you like this review. I don't even know if I could call it a review. It's more of, I guess, a discussion. So I hope you enjoyed it. And please subscribe, follow me on Rumble, all that good stuff. And hopefully I will see you for the next one.